Okay, great. And here we are. What we're going to talk about today, and thanks for the intro, Dean. We're going to be talking about adding images into your posts. Why do we use images? Well, that's a great question. First off, I know that a lot of you do use them in your classes because we see those as we troll through and meander through your courses. As a faculty reviewer, I don't directly look for those, but I notice those, and I'm always glad to see them because so are students, and we know how they react. Whether it's a picture in your intro that gives you a little background on who you are or where you come from, we do add a lot of value to the educational experience. So, why do we use images? What's the benefit? Well, first off, it's a lot more efficient. Frankly, for me, I would rather attach an image to a discussion post than type 1,000 words or 842 words, as you saw on the other slide. Learner styles, using images meets those students' preferences who appreciate the visual items and they can relate to them more than text, and it gives them a nice little break. And students like them. They appreciate the creativity, the individualistic approach that we take and that we display when we use other media besides just straight up text, especially if there's humor involved. It gives reading a break. With all the reading that our students do, and we know because we do that reading as well, and they do that, and even more so a lot of times, posting an image gives their mind a little bit of a break, and they just get to kind of sit back and drink it in instead of going line by line on the text. And finally, it gives clarity. I could spend an hour typing a description of something, and a lot of you would still not even get what I'm trying to say. But in one single image, boom, we can see it instantly. So I was thinking about how to approach this today, and I thought that maybe we could take a look at how we use images to convey a message. So we're going to play a little game. I'm going to show you a message which I used for an actual discussion post or announcement, and you can kind of think about what the takeaway is or what the message is. So first I'm going to show the image, and I'm going to give you a hint, and then you can think about it for a few seconds, and I'll talk about each one. So here's the first image that I used on a discussion. Okay, the class was Org 536, Contemporary Business Writing and Communication. What do you think the message is? If we had a chat pod and we had a lot more time, we could kind of go back and forth.
Basically, from Wall Street, by the way.
No, that's pre-Wall Street. That's back in the streets of San Francisco. Yeah, that's way back. Yeah, that's when we all had dark hair. Basically, this image is showing how far we've come from a single-function cell phone, which was the size of a shoebox, to the smartphones that can do anything in a fraction of the size of the old ones. And this brings up the point that it's critical to have images placed near the text when you describe it. So, for example, if you put together a PowerPoint, you have image and you have a text. You want to make those very close by for the viewer. That's a best practices principle. Okay, let's take a look at this one. This is kind of obvious. I was pointing out some critical areas of note in my RES 501 Fundamentals of Research and Writing class. So while I could write about all these fields, and in fact I actually did start describing, if you go to ProQuest, for example, make sure you look for the checkboxes. I thought to myself, just throw the image up there and they can use that for either this particular database or the similar ones that are out there. And there's a lot of databases in the library too. And here's something to consider. When students scroll down discussion forums, do you think that they might stop at an image and take a look? That's what I do. So I'm assuming that a lot of students do that too because it grabs their eye. So that's another way of images having an advantage over text in this sort of context. Okay, number 3. Again, this was ORG 536, talking about contemporary business writing and communications. The topic was employees who use their on-duty work time to play around, my words, to play around on Facebook and other social media websites. I wrote to the class that I'm always amazed when I check out Facebook in the middle of the day, like when I'm taking a break, and I see posts from friends who I know are hard at work on their job locations. And I always think to myself, don't they know that every single keystroke is being recorded? They're being monitored. And so I thought about this sign because I saw that a lot in the military, and it drives the point home that there's always someone watching. Okay, number 4, and there's 7, so there's only a few more of these that you have to suffer through. Here's the message, or yeah, guess the message, here's the graphic. This one, again, is kind of obvious, but I'm including it here to point out that we can take some common information, say it in words, and that's all well and good, but sometimes if we take a different approach and put it into a message like this one, it might stick in students' heads a little bit more. So maybe if a student perceives another student being disrespectful, they'll remember this this document or this piece of parchment that might stick in their mind more than just having read it with a billion other things that they read every day. Okay, another example. This is a sign I saw at a water park in Germantown, Maryland. I knew I had to show it to my critical thinking class, which I teach for another university. And if you read this, and I'll give you a few seconds to read it and I'll be quiet. Okay, so if you read this and think about it, you could swap the words videotape and recording, and it would still say the same thing, which is absolutely nothing. What's the purpose of recording or videotaping within the facility? We don't know. Is it for security, quality assurance, whatever? So the takeaway from this, and I wanted my students to get this, and maybe you can see that as well, is that sometimes we can use 10 words or 10,000, but still not say anything. And what's up with the dark background too? I don't know who makes signs with dark background and dark lettering. I'm not really sure what they're trying to do, but it's kind of like a little subdued. And it's hard to read without that contrast. Okay, number 6. This again was from the research class, RES 501, and the subject is listening. And obviously, you can see what the takeaway is here. I shot this right from in front of my iMac. There was no posturing the pictures or posing them or anything like that. And I wanted my students, I wanted to show them a few things about this. Number 1, even though those of us who've reached AARP age still need constant reminders about how to improve our communication skills, and there's nothing wrong with that. The second thing I wanted my students to take away is that sometimes the low-tech solutions are more effective than the high-tech ones. And the third thing is that it's okay to clutter up your computer monitor with sticky notes. Okay, and the last one. Again, the subject that we were talking about from the research class, we were talking about alignment. And one of my students was describing a problem at work that dealt with hiring freezes, funding, and the impact of those decisions and how everything ties all together, because we're talking about, again, about alignment. So first thing I started to do was to describe to this student what this chart looks like. So you have these, these 3 columns under impact up at the top, and then on the side you have this urgency. And I just started after 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, this is not going to work at all. So I went ahead and I found what I was looking for, and I think that this just, I mean, instantly you can get it within 5 or 10 seconds without reading all of my drivel for 3 paragraphs and still not understanding it. Okay, and I was looking over this PowerPoint earlier, and I wanted to make sure that I showed you guys how to attach or embed photos. There's 2 different ways to do that. The first way is to attach a visual or an image, and that's how you click all the way on the left on that button. And I believe that button says Add Content. And what it does is it puts a thumbnail of the picture on the bottom of the post, and then students left click it and they can see it and they can download it. And I'm sure you guys know this already, but just in case. And you can embed a picture directly, and you can see it here. To me, this looks a lot more professional by Control C or Command C on a Mac or Control V to paste it, and that's what it looks embedded. So the difference here is that one of these, the lower one, to me looks a lot more professional. The upper one, the attachment, is a good thumbnail that you can download. But the more important thing is that this lower technique of copying and pasting hardly ever works. I think it works the first time that I land on the discussion page and I copy and paste something, or command copy, command paste it, and then boom, it's there. And at no other time during that session does it allow me to simply paste an image into the discussion board. And I don't know what's going on with Schoology, but I usually get it's like one per customer, and all the rest of them is attachments. So I wanted to point that out to you.
It has to be a file, Keith. Is that what you're saying? So you can't copy it from like Word or something, is what you're saying? It has to be a file.
Right. What I do is when I see a JPEG, I go ahead and look at it in Preview or any other program. And if that program has an edit and copy, then it copies to the clipboard, and you should be able to paste it. And you can do this from the internet. You can right-click on an image, and it'll save it as an image or copy it as an image, but it just simply doesn't work in Schoology. So if anybody out there has a way that it's always going to work to embed, please do share that with us. And to bring us all home, if anyone would like to take this pledge, you can repeat after me. You don't have to mute or unmute. I state your name, do hereby promise to insert at least one image into a discussion post or announcement this week. Did everybody do that? Yeah, okay. Yes. Great. And that's all I have for you, except to leave you with this. Go Cubbies!
Me too.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
I guess class or division or whatever.